Hello and welcome to John Cook Stuff with me, John. Let's get involved. Let's get involved. Dear God. Hi, my name's John. I'm not a chef, I'm not an amazing cook, but I can kind of get by. As a wedding videographer, I found myself with very little to do during the old coronavirus lockdown. So, along with making dinosaur films with the kids, I decided to have a crack at this. So what I'm going to do is take you through some of my favourite recipes, whether it be books or online. Maybe show you a few tips and tricks, a few corners that we can maybe cut, and if we can, any ways to maybe save a few calories. So welcome to John Cook Stuff. Okay, I've been meaning to kind of do this for a while. I quite enjoyed cooking to an extent. I'm not a chef, I'm not a brilliant cook, but I can kind of get by. So I've got a bunch of recipe books like everyone. You maybe use one or two in each book, see how you go. So what I'm going to do is kind of take you through some of my favourites, some little corner cutting tips if we can, or just flavouring tips, anything you like, or maybe even how to save a few calories, which is a concern at the moment. So today we're going to kick off with a little recipe from More Takeaway Secrets by Kenny McGovern. It is the homemade Donner Kebab. Now, going to put that little book there, because if you're anything like me, I can't remember recipes, I have to look at them. Donner Kebab, takeaway favourite, well, used to be anyway. Got to admit, I've not really had a takeaway kebab for about 5 years. Mainly because I started making this, and it was vastly better. The greatest thing about this recipe is like almost no cooking is involved. Come on. Basically all you have to do is put your oven on, let's do that. Let's fire the beastie up to 180, classic temperature. Alrighty, so we'll get the ingredients list and all the spices and all that business in the description. But I highly recommend you buy the book instead, because it's one of the few recipe books that there's like loads of really good stuff in it. So let's crack on. First of all, we have got some mince, terrific. Let's get a little mince friend. We're going to open this fellow up. Doodly-doo, lovely. Unceremoniously dump them in, lovely, job done. Get rid of packaging, we'll recycle it obviously before you get any ideas. Alrighty, so the secret behind this is the spice mix. What we're going to do, what I like to do, is instead of dumping each little teaspoon in, I like to mix it all together and then just fire it in at the end. So, Mr. McGovern, what have you got to say? First up, we have got... Now, this recipe I've got to say is for 1 kilo of mince. We're going to be using 500, so let's just half all the amount. Perfect. Half a teaspoon of plain flour, so let's fire in a little quart. I'm going to be honest, I have zero idea what the flour is for. Maybe just some kind of binding agent, who knows. And then we're going to go in with garlic powder, or garlic granules. It's much the same thing. So basically we have got 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Now, these are great little devices, but what I would recommend is that they usually come kind of joined together with a little keyring thing. Keep that on, otherwise you will lose something like the teaspoon measurement. So we're going to go in for half teaspoons instead. I'm going to be honest, this recipe changed my life in a little way. Bit of an exaggeration. So we're going to put 1 in here, 1 teaspoon. Because I would never have thought about using things like garlic granules or onion granules or anything like that. Speaking of which, let's get the onion fellows in, 2 teaspoons. But on this recipe 1, boop. So, in we go. Yeah, so even like with things like burgers, I used to always fry off onion and garlic and then mix it all in. And then when I started making this, I was like, hang on, could we just not do that at all, perhaps? I think we probably could get away with that. Cut whilst I go back to the cupboard and get the coriander powder. Amateur hour. So next up, coriander. Seamless, not really. Alrighty, so coriander, 1/4 teaspoon. How am I going to figure that out? So we've got 1/4 teaspoon here, so we need half of a 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, this is going to be tricky business. Pay attention to the letters on the screen. Know what's coming out of here. Right, and next up we have got a little paprika. Paprika always reminds me of Tom Kerridge at the moment, because the boy is absolutely nuts about his recipes. So 1.5 teaspoons paprika, so we're just going to kind of fudge this. In you go. So let's be like, lovely. You can use hot paprika if you want to. If you're a spice fiend, get fired into that. I'll say if you're making it for other people, I would probably leave it. Next, cayenne, exactly the same. You can get the hot version of this. It's all good, but I would try to stay away from it. So in this recipe, 1.5 of these fellas. Hell of a problem with kitchen gazelles at the moment. Oh, and we're going to start. Oh no. How about there? Thought we'd run out. Nightmare. Right. Okay, and then we get into this like sort of weird stuff that I never thought would be in there. Oregano. 1.5 teaspoons of dried oregano. That's gone in the sink. Right, so again, 1.5, we're going to half that. So that should do the job. And then we're going to go in with dried Italian herbs. These are actually really great. If you're using like, that's the cat's food. If she's in a different room, she'll be breaking through a door right now. Right, anyway, let's fire this in. So we are looking at 1/2 teaspoon dried herbs. So in our half of halves, a quarter. Right, let's fire him in. Black pepper, just a wee dot of that. 1/4 teaspoon. Lovely, and then our old friend salt. Now, people think salt's bad for you, and they would be right, but at the end of the day, if you don't put salt in it, it ain't going to taste of anything. If you don't season your food, it will not taste nice. End of story. It will taste bland and rubbish. We're going to fire one in. Wow, just a little under one. So what I like to do, mix that in, so we've got a good proper spice mix. Not going itty bitty. Lovely. Fire them in, and all you need to do here is just mash it up. End of story. Get going. Have no fear with this, get totally involved. I mean, you know, just pretend it's Michael Gove's heart and just absolutely panel that. Oh, just Gove. It's just a joke. Everyone knows Michael Gove doesn't have a heart. Alrighty, once you've got a nice thick squish of mince there. No, I don't know what a swish of mince is either. Top tip, now that I've discovered it myself, is maybe get some water running before you start doing that, because now I'm going to have to kind of tentatively try and figure out how to put the tap on without touching it with my wee hands. Alright. Always wash your hands, kids. Oh, that's... You see when your hands are actually covered in like cold fat. Awfully hard to get off, so now I'm going to have to kind of try and get the fair liquid, but try not to touch the bottle. Oh no, there's a little bit come off there. Let's see if we can mark that in, make a clean spot. Yep. Oh god, yeah. If anything, this is going to be a learning experience of how not to do this. Jesus. That's about as much as I can bother with that. Let's get a tea towel, wipe it off. This will be straight in the wash afterwards, absolutely covered in lamb fat. Perfect. So yes, so I was looking up other kind of YouTube videos of homemade Donner Kebab, and there was a guy doing the recipe, and then for cooking it, he brought out this sort of miniature upright rotisserie thing, like you get in kebab shops, about that size, and kind of moulded it round, and it span round and round and cooked. On the off chance you don't have one of those, baking tray. So in Kenny's book, Kenny McGovern's book, he says to mould it into a big kind of loaf. So I did that a few times, that's absolutely fine, but one tip, down in a baking tray and push it flat. A, so it's going to cook quicker, and B, like more fat comes off it. One time I cooked 500 grams of this and almost 40 grams of fat came off it, so that's like half, pretty much half the fat in that whole packet. So top tip. So anyway, let's just get in a squish of that. That's just, you can freeze this beast even after it's been spiced, so that's not a worry. Let's just get a nice handful of it, kind of get a bit of a burger shape going on, and then we're just going to crush it down a little. Bang onto your baking tray there. You want to try and get this half an inch or so thick. So a centimetre. Okay, let's get that. Slam it into the oven. I would say at best it's going to take 5 minutes if you're a bit cautious about rarer meat. But it won't be rare, but if you're cautious, 10 minutes will be fine, it won't destroy it. Plenty of fat to keep it moist. So let's, whilst that's going on, lettuce. So, in Kenny's book, he gives you the recipe for the kind of classic kebab style salad and sauce. Speaking of which, I'm going to grab another thing from the fridge. Bear with me. Alrighty. But basically, I just like something really simple, just tomato, lettuce, and some red onion. So any kind of lettuce will do, as long as it's got a bit of crunch about it. Just fire off some leaves there. And we'll just chop them. And tomatoes. So you're not going to do too many. It's quite enough for kind of a couple of kebabs here. So here we go, tomatoes done. And if you're not a fan of raw onion, don't put it in. It's simple. One of the things I always recommend recipes, if there's something in there that looks great, oh, I don't like that, just leave it out. Just leave it out. You know, these recipes are here to be meddled with, as far as I'm concerned. So, red onion, get rid of you. Red onion's always a bit confusing as to when the skin stops and the actual onion starts. Right, there we go. Let's just slice some of that up. Oh, there you. This might be a little bit controversial. Not that controversial, really. I'm not going to use a pita bread. I'm going to use a wrap. I kind of just went off pita breads. You know, you get them and sauce gets into them and they start falling apart. It's just a nightmare. You wake up, you're covered in sauce and blood and all sorts. So I'm going to go for these wraps. Super controversial in that I'm going for these Weight Watchers wraps. There's no secret to these. There's no magic formula which makes them less calories. They are just smaller. That simple. So in the supermarket you tend to get these like massive ones or tiny little ones, but I find these are good in between. Unfortunately, a little bit expensive. But hey ho, so what we do here is just fire up a pan. Let that get hot. Alrighty. Okay, that's us ready with the kebab meat. Let's keep that pan on the heat. Oh, here comes Mr. Kebab. Turn you off. What? Oh, sorry, as you can see, there is the fat coming out. So as you can see, oh, see all that fat coming out. Yep, so as I said, that's kind of the bonus of doing it like this. Still more fat coming off that. So you're saving a ton of calories, really. I'm going to estimate each one of these wraps, once they're done, is roughly speaking about 300 calories-ish, kind of. Right, let's get this fella onto a plate. Give him a little bit more of a drain of that fat. Poof, there he is. Terrific. Right, let's get our tortilla into the pan. Done. Cut this bad boy up, just strips. Okay, it's not going to look like a typical slicey kebab, but it's going to taste great, and that's all we really care about. So let's do this in little strips. Pan, flip them. Grab a plate out. That'll do. On he goes. Let's start arranging the fella. So first, it's going to drizzle in a little. Drizzle? Drop some lettuce in. A little bit of the red peppers. Peppers? Red onion? Jesus. Okay, and just a few tomatoes. All you really need to do here, I think 3 bits there is absolutely dandy-o. Wash the hands for the umpteenth time. So yeah, talking about Kenny McGovern's sauces, he tells you how to make the ones at the kebab shop. My particular, what I like to do is just a little slot of mayonnaise, if there's any to come out. Should have thought about that, top off. Ooh. Get them on. Just a wee dot. And then I like to top it off with some sriracha. Now, the great thing about this is you can buy it pretty much any supermarket now. And it is awesome on all things. Squidgy, there we go, dalat. Oh, happy days. It's going to be messy, just accept that, move on. Awesome every single time. Nonsensically easy. Cheap as well. And one of these wraps is costing you about £1. You can't really argue with that. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, homemade doner kebab. Get it down you. Could have been worse.